Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 15 is entitled as Purushottama Vidya, Purushottama Yogam. Sloka 5 nirmāna-mohā jita-saṅga-doṣā adhyātma-nityā vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ dvandvair vimuktāḥ sukha-duḥkha-saṁjñair gacchanty amūḍhāḥ padam avyayaṁ tat. In the past 4 slokas, we have learnt quite a bit about this tree of samsara, which originates from the Brahmaloka down to this world with various branches. Those who are immersed in this world and have no knowledge of the Vedas cannot understand that based on the action that is done in this world of humans, its branches extend either upward or downward. They only think in terms of I am a man, son of Devadatta and the father of Yajnadatta. This is my house. I am in this position. So everything that they understand is based on I and mine. They do not go any deeper more than this. People are very immersed in this mundane life, do not realize that attachment of the gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, and their product alone is the beginning of this tree. And the means for destroying this tree is only detachment. Detachment from the enjoyments which are the products of these gunas. Using the short act of disinterest in worldly enjoyment, this tree, the banyan tree, which has grown taller and stronger with multifold roots, can be cut off. That is, staying utterly detached from sense objects. In this way, one should seek oneself. Having attained it, none returns into this world. The ignorance we have from beginningless time, our attachment to the material enjoyments, etc., are only due to the will of the Lord. To eradicate them, we have to seek refuge only in Him, as He is the only original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Having said these things in these 4 slokas, what state do they attain one who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord? That is being elaborated in this 5th verse. Let's understand the meaning of it. Nirmāna-mohā, free from the delusion of identity with the body. Jita-saṅga-doṣā, having conquered the evil of attachment to the sense objects. Adhyātma-nityā, ever established in the knowledge of the self. Vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ, who are utterly free from desire. Sukha-duḥkha-saṁjñair, called happiness and sorrow. Dvandvair, by the duality. Vimuktāḥ, liberated. Amūḍhāḥ, devoid of delusion. Avyayaṁ, eternal, that is without contrary knowledge. Padam, that nature of the self. Gacchanty, attain. Translation: those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. In the Sloka, there are 6 things that's been mentioned. Each of them are in a sequence. That is, from the first one comes to second, from second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth. All these are attained for one who has taken refuge in Krishna. And the Lord bestows these 6 things. Let's see what these 6 are. Nirmāna-mohā. Manam, meaning identifying the body with the self. Nirmānam, not identifying the body with the self. Nirmāna-mohā, not identifying the body with the self due to delusion. Considering this body to be the self is a biggest mistake. And this biggest mistake, the wrong understanding, will not go away so easily. Because one identifies oneself to be this body, the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself to be the Lord of material nature. Therefore, it is important that one should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of material nature. It is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is the Lord of everything. Unless one becomes free from this wrong understanding of considering to be the body, one will be completely intoxicated with pride, ego, etc. and continue to enjoy the sense objects. But when one becomes free from this delusion, that will lead one to become detached from the sense object, free of pride and egos. On the other hand, say if one is not free from this delusion of considering the body as the self, will have attachment becoming deeper to the sense object. That is, if we are thinking ourselves to be the body, not to be the Atma, or body to be the Atma, then one tries to satisfy the sense through the sense objects. Because when I think this is my body, this is my eyes, this is my everything, then naturally I want to satisfy my eyes, my nose, my ears, my tongue, etc. Why? Because I am this body. I need to be happy. That means the body needs to be happy. Therefore, one look for the sense object to keep the body happy, thinking he himself to be the body. And to get rid of this wrong understanding is very difficult. Therefore, when one takes refuge, surrender to the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, and beg to him to remove this contrary knowledge, the Lord, who is pleased by our prayers, will bless us with the proper knowledge. And this is the very first benediction that the Lord bestows upon the surrendered soul. When this delusion is destroyed, then comes the next one, which is jita-saṅga-doṣā. It is only due to the 3 modes, sattva, rajas and tamas, that one gets attracted to their effects and start enjoying them. Those are the things that are enjoyed through the body. Since now this person has a clear knowledge that he is not this body, he is Atma. The Atma is not the body, Atma is different from the body. His interest to enjoy the effects of the gunas through the body no more exists, it's gone. He doesn't want to do anything with the body's demands, to enjoy the sense objects. So, those who have conquered the evil of attachment to things other than the self, or jita-saṅga-doṣā, attachment towards things other than the Atma is of fault, it is not good. But attachment towards Atma, not to any other thing, is not of fault, it is good. When one's attachment to other things are conquered, one's attention is always on self-knowledge. That is, when one is nirmāna-mohā, then jita-saṅga-doṣā comes in place, which will then lead to adhyātma-nityā. One is always fixed in thoughts of Atma. That is, this person will be immersed fully in the knowledge of the self while performing yoga, and mostly at all the times. That is because he has lost the taste for sense objects. Therefore, he is able to be immersed in the knowledge of the self. He doesn't need to find enjoyment, happiness outside. He gets everything within himself through the full knowledge of the self. So, nirmāna-mohā, which leads to jita-saṅga-doṣā, which leads to adhyātma-nityā, and then that leads to vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ. Kama is desire. Nirmāna-mohā, one is free of desire. Vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ, one is completely free of desire. That is to say, when this person is surrounded by many sense objects, still he is not disturbed by his desires to wanting to enjoy those sense objects. He will have no interest in them. One difference needs to be understood here. Over here, kama has been used. Earlier, sangham has been used. Sangham, it is just one's desire. Kama is desperately wanting to fulfill that desire. So this person, vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ, is completely free from both of these things, both sangha and kama. Sangha is a desire, kama a desperate need, want to satisfy that desire, and this person is free of both, which leads to sukha-duḥkha-saṁjñair, dvandvair vimuktāḥ, free from the dualities of happiness and distress, pain and pleasure. Sukha, that derived due to anukula vastu, meaning favorable objects. One derives happiness, sukham. Dukkha, due to pratikula vastu. The sorrow happens due to unfavorable objects. That is, one who is liberated from all the dualities of favorable and unfavorable is what has been mentioned here as the fifth item. During the period of his practice, yoga practices, irrespective of the situation and surroundings which may be favorable or unfavorable, but he doesn't get disturbed by any of those dualities because his focus is on the self. Therefore, he will be unaffected due to favorable or unfavorable things. And the last one, amūḍhāḥ, finally leads one to be free of bewilderment in all matters, especially body, soul, subject matter. One who doesn't know clearly the nature of the self and the nature of non-self or in delusion are called mūḍhāḥ. But one who knows clearly the nature of the self and the nature of the non-self, that the body, are amūḍhāḥ. The delusion disappears from those who have taken refuge in the Lord. When the delusion is removed, all foolish ideas will go away on their own. The term amūḍhāḥ points out that the cause of delusion is removed. That's the last item that has been mentioned. The confusion usually happens over two different entities only when one is not fully aware of the individual characteristic of each of them. One becomes free of confusion if they know the characteristic of each of the entity. Then they can find the differences. So amūḍhāḥ is one who clearly understands the differences. There is no confusion. In other hand, mūḍhā is one who doesn't understand the differences between two entities, in this case the body and the atma. So nirmāna-mohā, jita-saṅga-doṣā, then adhyātma-nityā leads to vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ, and that leads to sukha-duḥkha-saṁjñair, dvandvair vimuktāḥ, and finally amūḍhāḥ. It is because of one's conditioning in this world, their knowledge fluctuates. Sometimes it contracts, sometimes it expands. But in the liberated state, one's knowledge never contracts. It will be in its fullest state. The term padam, which has been used here, has different meanings. Padyate iti padam. The entity to be attained is called padam. That which one wants to attain as a goal is called as padam. So it could be the Supreme Lord, or it could be the individual self that one desires to attain, to experience it. If one desires to attain the Supreme Lord, one attains Him. If one desires to attain the Atma, they will attain one's Atma in its fullest state. Both are liberated, but the one who attains the Supreme Lord engages in the Lord's service, whereas one who attains his Atma settles in experiencing his Atma alone. They are called as kaivalyarthi, whereas the one who desires to attain the Supreme Lord are called as bhagavallabharti. But either one, whether one wants to enjoy the Atma or one wants to be in the service of the Lord, both needs to take refuge in the Lord for sure. And it is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, who grants them and fulfills their desire when He is pleased with their prayers. So, this samsara is nothing but which is filled with sorrow in the form of birth, death, disease, old age, and more. And this happens due to one's karma. When one gets the knowledge, then he becomes free of guna-saṅga, and due to that become free of karmas. Then one will be able to cut off this tree. In this way, we can understand the good knowledge gradually is desires to enjoy the senses disappears, and he becomes free of dualities like favorable and unfavorable things. which are caused by the delusion of thinking oneself to be the body, all these things can happen just simply by surrendering unto Krishna. To summarize, number 1, being free from illusion of thinking body to be the Atma, nirmāna-mohā. Number 2, detached to the actions caused by the 3 modes, jita-saṅga-doṣā. Number 3, one is able to think about Atma without any interruption, completely being focused within, adhyātma-nityā. Number 4, completely free from various desires of body and senses, even if those objects are in proximity, vinivṛtta-kāmāḥ. Number 5, being free from the attachment of seeing things as favorable and unfavorable, sukha-duḥkha-saṁjñair, dvandvair vimuktāḥ. Number 6, no more in ignorance, no more contrary knowledge, no more doubts, amūḍhāḥ. And with this, finally one attains the place where he doesn't have to return back again into this world. In other hand, let's see the opposite of what we just saw. Number 1, due to illusion, one identifies oneself to be the body. Number 2, one gets attached to the actions caused by the 3 modes because he has failed to understand he is not this body. Number 3, one unable to think, focus on the Atma, the self, because his actions are all towards the body. Number 4, leads one to get caught into the various desires of the bodies and senses, nothing in relation to Atma. Sangha, desires to enjoy, and Kama, wanting to fulfill those desires, becomes stronger. Number 5, attachment that comes towards the favorable things which brings happiness, and hatred towards those things which are unfavorable, which may bring distress. Again, this is towards one's body and senses. Number 6, he remains to be in a foolish state, unable to differentiate the body and soul. Therefore, he dwells into the samsara, goes deeper and deeper and deeper, which makes it hard for him to get out of the samsara tree, all because of failing to take refuge in Krishna and beg for his mercy. Namaste, Hare Krishna.